Have you ever wondered who's the smartest Hazbin Hotel character? Me too, but that's not the topic for today. In this video, I'll go over all the overlords. So how will this work? I'll be reading each overlord's feats, and based on those feats, I'll either decrease or increase the counter. Unfortunately, it just so happens that it mostly goes down, so I made up a little reason to alleviate the situation. In short, in my understanding, each overlord is best at something. Like Alastor owns the radio, Velvette owns social media, Carmilla owns weaponry, etc. And thus all the overlords are successful. Yeah, they're called overlords because of that. And for the most part, comparing it to real life, dumb people don't make it up there. So, as a little leeway, or just a gift of appreciation, each overlord's IQ will start at 130, instead of the normal 100. Trust me, they'll need it. And lastly, before I start, don't take this too seriously. This was just made for fun, and the points that I deduct or add are purely subjective. And with that, let's start. So first of all, there's a dozen nameless overlords. The only thing I can judge them by is their mug. So here's the ranking. Okay, now the real one. The first one is Nifty, and that's pretty self-explanatory. She is barely sane, unstable, unhinged. She's Alastor's pet, which doesn't just happen like that. Sometimes cries like a child, crosses borders, comes at people who are potentially stronger than her, with seemingly no reason, clearly has no idea how communication works and how people perceive what she says. Even more so than Charlie. That should tell you how low the bar is. Out of her good IQ feats are knowing 2 languages. That is English and Japanese canonically. She also uses her size and stealth to the maximum degree, but that's more like animalistic IQ. And that is fitting. She's probably as smart as an animal. Maybe that was a little rough, but she's definitely in this category. Next up is Husk, who is kinda similar to Nifty. He's Alastor's pet because of his gambling addiction, which is itself a deteriorating activity. It doesn't bring anything good. It only ever makes you suffer, just like smoking and alcohol. Oh right, he does that too. Also, when his dear friend Angel, who he's buddies with, gets raped, abused, doesn't want to live, he doesn't do anything. Why ask Charlie? Why ask Vaggie? I better whine about how hard my life is and get wasted. Although granted, he manages to help Angel Dust with words. He's being more or less reasonable and asks him not to drink to prove his redemption. He also sees through his quote-unquote bullshit, while the rest apparently can't. Figures out Angel's drink was spiced with poison, but that's barely a feat. Battle IQ feats consist of remembering that one time Angel said Val's eyes were bad, and that's about it. Next up is Valentino. He rapes, abuses Angel Dust, all while knowing his body of the Princess of Hell. More so, he treats him like shit on her eyes. If Angel wasn't such a pushover, Val would have died. Even disregarding that situation, Val beats him up in public so frequently that even Vox has to step up. His battle IQ feats consist of using a gun that he cannot shoot a standing still Alastor with 2 times, using the smoke that hurts yourself more than your opponents, not keeping track of the bug girl who killed the most powerful angel you've ever seen. On the bright side, he was smart enough not to let Vox kill everyone in the vicinity, and he also helped with the barrier, which may help his reputation a little bit, so that's beneficial. And he knows 2 languages as well. Other than that, he doesn't do much, and thus he goes here. Then comes Velvette. Her notable feats are being a social media overlord, which should tell you everything, thinking she is the backbone of the V's, slandering and having a dispute with the only weaponry supplier in all of hell, actively abusing a new worker, which should logically lead to worsening the V's reputation. Actually, this can be applied to all 3 of the V's. Same as actually believing you can beat heaven when it took Lucifer to beat Adam, when he's not even on the level of the angels who exiled Lucifer to hell. Yeah, so I have to apply this to all the other V's, which includes Val. Tough life. The battle IQ feats consist of not following Alastor's shadow, even though she should be aware of it, at least because Vox should have told her. If he didn't, then extract 10 points out of his IQ. I can't really evaluate how well she fights in the Husk fight. Maybe she should have spammed attacks. I don't know if she can, no, whatever. In a Nifty fight though, she waits for the last moment to use her attacks. If she used them earlier, she would have won. And of course, she also helps with the barrier. Just barely. Then we have Rosie. She doesn't have many feats, she doesn't do much, but she understands human psychology and comforts Charlie. She makes a deal with Alastor, which makes him her pet for free basically. She's not being pushy and dominant like Valentino. She's trying to be friendly, so that Alastor had fewer reasons to break the contract. Unfortunately, that's the end of the positive, because she does force him to be at the hotel, and then when Vox gets stronger every day, he is basically the new king of hell now. Everybody follows him. She doesn't even suspect that Vox may just become the strongest sinner in hell. Why would he? She doesn't fight, and her last feat is being manipulated by Alastor. So, in a situation where if he supposedly doesn't help, the whole city explodes and kills everybody, he tries to bargain for his help. Dude, you're gonna die if you don't help. That's what she should have said. Instead, she begs like a little bitch. That was just awful. And also, there was like 40% of the barrier left to do. She is the strongest overlord. Why didn't she even try to finish the barrier by herself? Tough questions. Tough questions. Next up is Carmilla Carmine. She is by far not as smart as she thinks she is. She is heavily manipulated by Husk into submission, practically out of thin air, when Zestial, who's her best friend, potentially a lover, who's lived for hundreds of years, and has by far the most experience in her surroundings, warns her, she doesn't listen. She says she wants to be on the winning side, so let's see which side is more likely to win. On the hell side, we have billions of sinners, who are fodder, couple of feetless overlords, and 3 Vs, who are all beneath Season 1 Alastor. On the heaven side, we have billions of winners who are fodder, couple of fodder exorcists, and of course, last but not least, an unknown amount of seraphims who exiled Lucifer, who's the king of hell, and who are superior to Adam, who one-shot Alastor, who ate overlords for breakfast. Yeah, I wonder who's gonna win. Then she blames the hotel staff for starting the war, even though she was the first one to kill an exorcist, and she supplied them with weapons. Although this may just be a coping mechanism, I don't really think it's the case here.
But we are going to let this one slide.
Thank you.
No, we're not.
I am not a mind reader, David.
On the bright side, she is the first non-hotel staff, non-Zestial overlord who decided to help with the barrier. And also she noticed that Fag is an exorcist due to the fact that she has a giant axe over her eye. Unfortunately, I can't really compare this feat to anybody else. She may be one of the few people who actually saw exorcists with their own eyes, although that's never stated. Although Vox has a picture of an exorcist. Although, in her own words,
You have a giant X over your eye and wield an angelic spear. It's not rocket science.
whatever. Battle IQ feats consist of using her legs, that's it. And even below that, she's pretty high. And next up is Vox. Let's see. He is able to gather a cult during his lifetime. That definitely requires some level of IQ, charisma, etc. It also required him to kill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. I let him slide the first one because sure you can just brush it off as an accident, but with each next kill, it becomes dumber and dumber. Especially the kill of Bob, who's, as far as I got it, the manager of the channel. Why does everybody around this man keep dying while he climbs the career ladder? Why would that be? Relying on stupidity of others is not a good IQ feat. After that, he stands in a pool of water among dozens of TVs. The fact that he's lived long enough to have grey hair really proves how lucky he is. When Alastor comes back, Vox's initial reaction is to take control of the situation and try to smear Alastor's reputation as much as possible. Then he sends Sir Penches to the hotel.
I come in peace.
Where he fails, Vox immediately tells him to go off himself, without even trying to reason and give him another chance. This is absolutely counterproductive, since apparently Penches is the only guy in hell who doesn't have connection to the V's, meaning he was Vox's last chance to send a spy and ultimately get to Alastor. After that, he spanks Velvette and Valentino for their public stunts, but immediately after that, he thinks he can be a god, and he gets a bigger deduction than the other V's, because that was his plan in the first place, and he was the one who really wanted to become a god. Successfully manipulates Charlie into his favor, cuts out everything unneeded, and makes it look as convenient as possible for him. Unfortunately, I don't think manipulating dumb people is that impressive, especially manipulating Charlie, who's a literal retard, and the whole editing is just cartoonishly bad. Like, I know this is made for giggles. Yeah, sure, we can see it's Velvette talking and not some private guest, but I have to rate what we have at face value, and what we have results in deduction, rather than addition. After that, he beefs with the hotel for seemingly no reason, other than having pleasure here and now, which in the long run just hurts him. Fortunately, in the same episode, he starts partnership with Baxter as soon as the latter one shows his machine in work. That contraption was somewhat able to stand up to Zestial, and in the long run he got Shockwave, which proves how valid this decision was. He's able to convince some no-name overlords to join his side. Half of this is probably due to the fact that he beat Alastor, but the other half is him using a specific approach for each overlord. After that, he beats Lucifer at his own game, although once again, beating or manipulating dumb people isn't that big of a feat. Although just in case I didn't think Lucifer is dumb, he just doesn't care enough, although the result is the same. Then he manipulates once again, but I'll just insert this clip.
You are apologizing for genocide with gift baskets?
They have assorted taffies in them. Like, really good taffies.
Oh, you hear that, folks? These angels think our lives are worth really good taffies.
Yep, that's the level of people he debates with. After that, he successfully rage baits Sarah and beats her into being scared. I don't know how to rate this. On one hand, this is a great feat, which should be nearly impossible. On the other hand, it should be near impossible. And thus, this is just a plot contrivance. I don't know, man. Fine, take it. Oh yeah, and I just recalled, Vox doesn't figure out Vaggie is an exorcist, even though he has a clear picture of one, which would have supported his ratings even more. Manipulates Carmilla, although gets manipulated by Alastor, to the point the other Vs are turning against him. Has the ability to control people, but doesn't even try to use it on Panches, Vaggie, Charlie, Husk, Nifty, the Eggs, Baxter, Cherry Bomb, Lucifer, the Angels, the Exorcists, and yeah, boom boom boom. Although it's ambiguous whether it would work on some people I mentioned, and on some people it wouldn't work for sure, but on the others he didn't even try it. Then he captures Lucifer. He makes an assumption that material made out of angel weapons will stop Lucifer's powers, and his whole plan was based on that one assumption. Of course, he also imitates Charlie, but that's him just using his ability. He thinks Alastor is a bigger fish than Lucifer, after which Alastor manipulates him into inviting Charlie. Alastor made a deal with me to not lay a hand on Charlie, and now he's trying to rage bait me into inviting her to my party. Ah, f him, I'll invite her.
He is too easy.
Vox, knowing that Baxter, his ex-employee, who's a computer genius, is now at the hotel and can potentially help Charlie, doesn't add any additional levels of security. Lays his hands on Charlie, but it was explicitly said he cannot do this. Doesn't pay attention and talks about how he is a god when everybody's against him and his head can easily be ripped off. Finally, the last one is his beef with Alastor. Overall, I think it mostly depends on ego, and not necessarily on intelligence, but his ultimate loss was because of that. Logically, you have to draw a line somewhere, and he never did. Battle IQ feats consist of smashing things around, and that was Vox. Next up is his rival. He tries to make a deal with Charlie straight up after meeting her, but shows up for no reason 2 times, although makes Vegas suffer in order for her to make a deal. The deal was not to work with TVs ever, if you forgot. Beats Vox at his own game, although that's not really difficult when he's a fanboy who gets triggered with one word. After that, he meets Zestial and tries to keep his secrets as tightly as possible, while trying to be friendly to the oldest Overlord. Out of pure luck, gets one of the Egg Boys to be with him, but immediately utilizes this to his advantage. Tries to rage bait Lucifer by the fact that he's a better father to Charlie, which may be Lucifer's only vulnerability. Unfortunately though, gets beaten in an argument so bad, he is forced to swear, which he never does, unless he is in a near-death situation.
Ha ha ha! It was actually my idea.
Well, it's not very clever.
Ha ha! Fuck you.
He makes a deal with Charlie for a small favor. That's cool, but he didn't even try to negotiate for something bigger. Leads Charlie to Rosie and makes her do all the talking instead of himself. Obviously they needed the cannibals, he just didn't want to do the hard lifting. This is weird, but I have to mention Battle IQ now. Doesn't use angelic weapons against the strongest exorcist they've seen yet. Sure, he has an ego, but you have to draw the line somewhere. Same thing goes for fighting Adam alone. Shouldn't you have thought of some backup? And finally blocking the hit with his staff, which gives him all the abilities. All 3 of those just led him to losing miserably. Drinks and smokes. Pretty talented during a lifetime. Somehow figured out a way to reach to hell. Knows 2 languages. Dies like an idiot.
Just perfect.
Battle IQ feats consist of not checking whether you can teleport and use your abilities overall before the fight starts, and just using your remaining abilities to full extent. Then he makes a deal with Vox. I guess it's pretty smart. At worst he has to suffer Vox's torture, but now he has the ability to talk to him directly all the time and manipulate him. Also the part where Vox is not supposed to lay a hand on Charlie is pretty smart. After all, he does that quite often. After that, Alastor manipulates him, and I'm not gonna count every single time, just take this. Finally, he uses the first deal to make Charlie say Vox is the strongest, which frees him from Rosie's control. The final Battle IQ feats consist of using multiple attacks in a row while Vox is distracted, and using his tentacles as rope. His final feat is trying to get maximum out of thin air, and he successfully does that. So, I don't think this is okay. So I added 30 points to each Overlord's IQ as a sign of respect to their intelligence, but Alastor became an Overlord because he made a deal with Rosie. He didn't really deserve this title. Well, he is the strongest, but that is only because of the deal, and I already gave him points for that. So, waiting for the Alastor fanboys in the comments. Fanboys, not Femboys. Finally, there is Zestial. He's the oldest Overlord, which proves he survived that long for a reason. When Alastor appears after a 7-year absence, Zestial's first course of action was to interrogate him in a friendly manner. He clearly doesn't overstep boundaries and tries to be respectful. Then he's actively waging against the war. The first time it probably benefits him. He definitely knows how to survive currently and doesn't want to risk it. He interrogates Carmilla, but that wasn't difficult at all. In the second war, Zestial is the only Overlord who Vox couldn't recruit. Frankly, he didn't even try, but he just knew Zestial wouldn't agree. When Vox tries to convince Carmilla to build a weapon, Zestial sees through the bullshit, but doesn't even try to convince Carmilla. Is that Sigma male behavior, or should I just deduct some points? Lastly, he's the first non-hotel staff Overlord to help with the barrier, and his battle-like feats consist of using this badly animated attack. And it appears that he is the smartest. So, this was definitely unexpected. Those results are kinda insane. Once again, don't take this too seriously. If you like the format, I can do this for the other shows. I can also rank the other characters from Hazbin Hotel. By the way, you can check it out in my Hazbin strength ranking video. Write your thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe if you liked the video, dislike if you didn't, and I'll see you soon.